Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Meet Zinnia.
You are being very polite to someone who is attempting to kill us.
Her wife, Saffron.
You know I'm wildly, madly in love with you.
And their best friend, Goldie.
Glad we didn't miss all the fun.
Swords in hand, they defend their city from the worst of humanity.
I am Lord Buxton Blue.
Equity Electric.
Herr Haig. Virgil Walcott. Vicious Swa.
Follow their adventures on the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society audio drama podcast. Available now at truestory.fm/swashbuckling.
Hey, movie lovers, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson. We are the hosts of the Next Reel Film Podcast.
If you're passionate about films like we are, you'll love our show. Each week, we dive deep into a movie, discussing everything from the story and performances to the cinematography and score.
Not to mention budgets and awards. We have covered iconic series like Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather trilogy, examining themes of power, family, and the dark side of the American dream.
We've explored the works of groundbreaking directors like Catherine Bigelow, discussing her mastery of tension.
We've looked at heist films, great car chases, great years in film, couples on the run, and more.
Our discussions go beyond the surface, examining what makes each film tick. We believe that when the movie ends, the conversation begins.
And we'd love for you to join that conversation. Find the Next Reel Film Podcast on your favorite podcast app or at thenextreel.com.
The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd with Mandy Kaplan. I'm Mandy Kaplan, so that all works out. And this show is my effort to nerdify and nerducate myself. I'm a mainstream-loving, reality TV show watching football fanatic who has avoided all things sci-fi, fantasy, and nerd culture my whole life. And here I am rectifying that situation one show / comic book / movie / game at a time. Now I'm in a phase where I am lucky enough that people who have come on the show and been so wonderful and charming and dear have agreed to come back and continue to try to nerdify me. Today is no exception. She is a voiceover legend, star of Apex Legends. She is a phenomenal performer and an even more wonderful friend and human being. Everybody, please welcome back Justine Huxley.
Hi, thank you so much. You're so sweet, Mandy.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
I love you. Let's just do this once a month just to express our love.
I love that idea.
Okay.
I have so many nerd things to share with you.
I love that. Well, it's interesting because I feel like you are somewhat on this journey as well. You're just not chronicling it in a weekly podcast. But you, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple years ago, if someone had said, oh, you're a nerd, you might not have thought that you were in terms of what nerd culture is. But now you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to cons, you're really invested in the animation world. These are things that maybe weren't you.
Yeah, I think I was always a Stephen Sondheim nerd, always a musical theater nerd growing up, always a MGM old movie musical nerd and black and white film nerd. But this more modern nerd culture is new to me, and it's very exciting. And I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're doing it together. But you have far more, like a larger swath of people welcoming you in with this con culture, because as a voiceover artist, you go to conventions. And now, is Apex Legend, is that for nerds or is that more mainstream?
I mean, there's millions and millions of players all over the world. So I guess it could be considered mainstream now in terms of video games. But I think a lot of video game players consider themselves nerds. Sure. Yeah.
It is strange how it has taken over culture.
Yeah.
Although I guess it did in the 80s, because I did this documentary that I highly recommend called King of Kong.
Oh,
Have you ever
cool.
heard of that movie?
I have. Yeah. My boyfriend Scott has seen that, and so is his brother. And yeah, they loved it.
I highly recommend it.
I have to see it.
Loved
You
this movie.
did
I did it for
voiceover
the
for it, or-
podcast. No, I did it for the podcast.
Oh, got it. Oh, cool. Oh, I've got
But I guess when video games were created in the 80s, it wasn't really nerdy to sit around the arcade and pump quarters in with your friends on the weekends. That was a cool thing to do. So I'm not sure when the shift came that it's like, oh, you're into video games? That's so nerdy. But it's like it wasn't nerdy when it started. And then it became, I guess it's the passion with which people approach it that make it seem nerdy. Right? Mainstreamers are like, yeah, I go to the arcade sometimes, or yeah, I sit down and play a video game every once in a while. But when you are like, yeah, I haven't showered in 4 days because I'm obsessed with it, I think that means it's become nerdy.
I think also like the thing of cosplaying the characters, that's, a newer thing. And to me, I think that's the coolest thing when I see characters that I voice that people dress up as. And it's just like these cons, some of the creativity of these cosplays are just incredible. I'm so impressed.
Did you ever see the movie Role Models with Paul Rudd
No.
and Sean William Scott?
No.
Okay. So I think that was around the time things were turning. Now the movie is, oh my God, maybe 18 years old or something. It's crazy. But basically, Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott are true mainstream guys, and they get into trouble with the law, and they have to become big brothers to this Christopher Mintz-Plasse. What's his name from Superbad?
Right.
McLovin, right?
Right.
And he is into cosplay. He spends all his time LARPing in the park, and they have a whole world and all of these battles. And Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott make fun of it. It's so nerdy. It's so dorky. What do you mean? That guy's the king and that guy's dead? Like, what? That's so dumb. And then it turns around through the movie and they get really into it. And I feel like that was the time in history, however many years ago that was. If I had a research team, I could look up the movie Role Models and I could tell you. But that's when it started to get like, maybe it is cool for everyone to let go, not care what people think. It was 2008, so 16 years ago. It just felt like things shifted. Even Superbad. McLovin was such a nerd, and that movie made him the hero and made him cool. So I think I've figured it all out, and we don't need to do this. And thanks for coming.
So funny.
When I initially came up with Make Me a Nerd, and I said you could come on and talk about Disney. Correct me if I'm wrong. You took a little bit of offense and said Disney is not nerdy.
No, I did not take offense. I just think that nowadays Disney is so mainstream with Disney Plus, with, so many people going to Disneyland. Disney properties are, they have Marvel now, they have Star Wars now. And, I think Star Wars used to be considered nerdy, and now it's so mainstream that I don't think it's nerdy anymore. I don't think, even Star Trek, I don't think that's as nerdy anymore. It's become so mainstream. Some of these Disney properties that, like I feel like when Frozen came out, I took my friend's kids trick-or-treating for Halloween, and on one street we saw, I think, 50 Elsas. And it's so and just as a kid, going to see all the Disney animated movies and movie musicals, I just never felt like it was that nerdy. But I do feel like what we're about to talk about is a little bit nerdy, Jungle Book, because not as many kids or even adults our age know it because it was an older Disney movie.
Sure. I also think we're back to my theory that it's the degree to which you obsess over these things.
Sure.
Because, I've been to Disneyland a few times recently because I have a kid, and it's a magical place and it does everything well. I was lucky enough to go with you, and you were a brilliant guide, and you got us on all the rides and you knew all the tricks. But you said, oh, I've been here dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
Yeah.
And you do know the ins and outs so well. And that's a level of nerd. That's a passion for it that I don't have, even though I like Disney stuff.
Yeah, they call that Disney adults.
Okay.
If you are a Disney adult that will go on your own without kids and goes often and knows the ins and outs and knows how to get on the, fast passes and lightning lanes and Genie Pluses and all that stuff. Yeah. That's a Disney adult. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that it's like my podcast is transitioning somewhat in that it's no longer strictly going to be about sci-fi fantasy nerd culture. It's going to be about, I missed that. Why are you so nerdy about that? Right? Because I've seen a lot of the Disney musicals and I love a lot of them. But I'm not nerdy about them. I could give or take them for the most part. So it's some episodes of this podcast, Heads Up America and parts of Canada, will now be about like what, I did a horror movie with Tommy, and horror isn't so much a nerd culture thing, but there are people obsessed with genre film and dissecting it and going to conventions and, making it a nerd thing. So I wanted to do Disney because of your passion for it. And when I said, what's your favorite, you did not hesitate. You said Jungle Book.
Yeah.
I want to know why. What sets Jungle Book apart from the dozens of beautiful Disney animated
so many
musicals.
And it is hard for me to pick a favorite, but Jungle Book for me is the perfect movie in the feel of the music. First of all, I'm a huge jazz nerd. That's another thing we could do on another podcast, is that I'm such a huge jazz nerd. And
I'm a bit anti-jazz. That would be a bridge too far for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a huge jazz nerd. The music is so jazzy. It has so much swing to it. And the characters are so lovable. Even Shere Khan, like the voice actors are so good. Shere Khan is so scary, but you just want to keep hearing that like low bass British. It's like it's like almost like taffy just like pulling. I just love it. I think the casting of the voice actor of Kaa, who also is the voice actor for Winnie the Pooh, is so brilliant because it's such a cute voice for this, venomous snake that wants to eat you,
Right.
And it's so unexpected. And Baloo, the bear, the lovable buffoon bear, they were not thinking to cast that voice actor who was, I believe, Phil Harris, who was a comedian. They were not thinking to cast him, and he said, "No, I'm not. I don't want to play this bear. Like, what am I doing?" And it turned out that he went into the audition, and he wasn't feeling it, and they said, "You know what? Just do you. Just be you. Don't be a bear. Just be you." And he just totally improvised the audition. They loved it, and it was so perfect. He's so perfect for that. I just feel like all the voice actors are so perfect. I love the 2D animation style. I know it's not as popular anymore to do 2D, but I love that old style of animation from the 40s, 50s, 60s.
It's like 2D. A hug coming out of your screen. Yeah.
Another thing is I'm such an animal nerd. I love animals. And so to see these animals, like especially King Louie, who is voiced by Louis Prima, the famous jazz singer musician, so much fun. And they based, they took these actors, watched them in the recording sessions, and animated to them, which I love, which they still do now.
They do that now, but in 2D, it's so much more charming. There's
it's
the simplicity.
So fun.
Well, I want to drill down into each of these characters and performances a little bit. But before we do that, I want to ask, how many times do you think you've seen it?
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, because I started watching it when I was a kid. So, and in those days, we didn't have streaming. And so we had the same movies that we would watch over and over again. So I mean, probably at least 50 times, I would
And
say.
you're of the generation where Disney released it and then they would put it back in the vault for
Back
7
in the
years.
vault. Right.
So you bought the
Yes.
VHS or the DVD and okay.
The VHS, yeah.
I am of the generation that we had to see it in the movies. And
yeah.
Didn't Disney go, they re-released
They re-released
things.
it. Yeah, I saw it with my mom when I was a kid. Yes, you know what? I'm of the age where we had it on Laserdisc. That's how nerdy I am.
Yeah. Love it. Now, did you rewatch it to do this podcast, or you're like, I don't need to rewatch it. I know that movie really well.
I know that movie really well.
Okay. I was thinking about it because I thought, I bet she's not rewatching it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many other movies, like what are 3 other movies you could do that with? I'm just curious.
Sure.
Because there are very few I could just talk about really comfortably.
Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Alice in Wonderland. Or I'm just doing Disney. I'm just doing Disney movies.
Any movies.
Oh, any movies?
Any movies.
Gosh, there's so many.
Well, I was talking to my sister
the
other day. Hi, Allie. And I said, why don't you watch Steel Magnolias? It's such a cathartic cry.
Love that movie.
It's such a great cry.
Oh, yeah.
And she made a joke about one of the most famous lines from Steel Magnolias. And I said, oh, Spud, I'm a chain. And she thought I was nuts. She's like, what are you talking about? But Steel Magnolias is a movie that I could, teach a class on without having to watch it.
I love that.
That and Waiting for Guffman, probably, which you
and I was about to say Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what are other movies besides Disney movies that you could do?
Gosh, so many Disney movies because I've seen them so many times. Probably Singing in the Rain. Seen that about 1 million times.
I can't stand them.
Yeah, I can't stand them. An American in Paris. Just so many of the Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly movies like Daddy Longlegs, Lily with Leslie Caron, My Fair Lady. So many of the old movie musicals. You don't know Lily?
No.
Oh, you've got to see Lily. It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful movie with Leslie Caron, and it takes place at a carnival in France, and it's just gorgeous. And the musical Carnival was based on it.
Oh, that I know.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's so interesting because you and I share a few, and then you really went to deeper cuts and you lost me entirely. So Jungle Book, you go to Disney Plus, you hit play, and there is now a disclaimer on the movie.
Yes.
And this, I read this disclaimer occurs on several older Disney titles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read the disclaimer and get your thoughts on it. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. These stereotypes are wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove the content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. Other films that carry this warning are Aristocats, Peter Pan, and I guess several more. They don't even show Song of the South. That's dead.
Right.
So are you aware of this disclaimer?
I am aware. Yes, because I was doing more research for this before we met today. I was doing research last night, and I haven't watched it on Disney Plus. I've only watched it on Laserdisc. and VHS. And DVD, because when I used to babysit my friends' kids, I watched it with them 1 million times. Yes, I am aware. I don't think it's the worst offender of all of the ones that they've. I think probably the most offensive thing is that they aren't really they didn't cast it. You know what I mean? They didn't
not
cast
ethnically
it
accurate, but there's no ethnicities because these are animals. So
right, but Mowgli is played by a white kid, and I believe the little girl the villager girl is played by a white girl.
She is.
Yeah, And, it's not ethnically accurate.
The
But
song she sings is a tad questionable as she's getting
right.
water from the river, but not that bad.
It's
It
not
didn't make
that
me wince
bad.
at all. I thought it was sweet and
But we're
lovely
also
and
two white women, so
true,
maybe this doesn't offend us as much as it would,
true.
someone from that culture.
Right.
I don't think it's the worst. I think Aristocats is worse. I think Lady and the
Peter
Tramp is worse.
Pan.
Peter Pan's, yeah, that's probably one
Ooh,
of the worst ones. Yeah.
it really
This
is.
is this is not as bad, I feel. And I know a lot of people were upset about the King Louis depiction, but he is played by a Italian American singer musician. He's played by Louis Prima. And I know, like I read, they did not intend to make it, you know, offensive or racist. And I
Right.
don't think it's offensive or racist because it's played by, they intended to make it like a literal swinging monkey, ape.
Right.
And
Right.
the music is swinging and he's dancing to the music in a swing dance fashion.
Right.
So that doesn't bother me.
I never knew Louis Prima was white.
Oh yeah, Italian American.
I just found this out last
Oh
night when I watched
wow.
this movie. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I said, I'm shook.
So
I thought
you never saw videos of him or anything?
Nope.
Or pictures? Oh
I've
wow.
heard
Okay,
this
cool.
voice,
Yeah.
in music and in this
Yeah.
movie. I heard the voice and
Mhm.
assumed he was an African American so yeah, I'm shocked. I think I give credit to Disney for calling it out and explaining why they didn't edit these movies. And I think it is important as a mom. When we watched Peter Pan when Casey was really, really little, we had to pause it and have talks about not using these words and that this isn't, okay. And this is just not accurate or okay or kind. And if you cut all of that, there's what sparks you to have a chance to talk to your kids about these things. And
Right. You don't have the conversations. Yeah. Like I was when I heard that they were thinking about taking Gone with the Wind off of HBO Max, I thought, I'm just of the mind that like you should watch these movies for the historical context and have those conversations rather than erase it all. It's like people denying certain parts of history.
right.
If we don't learn about it, if we're not exposed to it, then we have no idea what happened and we can't learn from our mistakes.
We learn it so it can't repeat itself. That's what I mean. They
Exactly.
always say, if you
Exactly.
don't talk about it, it might happen again.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. And I also, this is getting deeper into parenting philosophy or just life philosophy.
I thought you were about to light your mic on fire and I was
I'm
like,
just
oh
gonna
my God,
start
Andy.
a fire. No. Because when people hear this, hopefully Los Angeles will have returned to normal, but we are recording this. I can smell, like when I'm in my studio or outside, I smell some burning scent. Anyway, but we are safe and sound, thank God, and doing everything we can to help those who are not. My deeper thing is, I don't want to shield Casey from all negative things.
Yeah.
I'm often saying to him, this is ugly, but you need to know this exists,
Sure.
and we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And if you whitewash history, literally and figuratively, there's no opportunity for kids to know the dark side and learn how to cope with that and understand it and prevent it from happening again. So you and I are better than everybody else, but I thought this was a nice way for Disney to agree with you and me and say, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And not just edit scenes out.
I appreciate that.
So the movie started and I realized it has no opening number.
Yeah, there's, it's in some of these older Disney animated films, they don't have many songs. Like, I think 101 Dalmatians only has the one song, Cruella de Vil. And even I was about to say My Fair Lady, even Lady and the Tramp only has, I think, 3 or 4 songs. This movie, I think, only has 5 or 6 songs. There's not that
They're
many
so
songs.
good though
They're
that I
so good that you think there's more songs, but they're really just these, these
right.
5 great songs that everybody knows and everybody remembers.
As a musical theater lover, and to drop us into this beautiful world of animals and jungle, and I wanted an opening number. I wanted the
You
circle
need
of life
to
or
write
something.
a strongly worded letter to Disney and tell them
Yes.
that you're going to rewrite.
I will
the
fix it.
movie.
I wrote, "This is a musical, for Christ's sake. Act like one." So then we're in with Bagheera, the panther.
Yes.
And when I started noting the animation, because we talked about it, it's 2D and it's pretty rudimentary.
Yeah.
Like Little Mermaid, they had a little more advanced animation, but
Sure.
this is very old school, and yet Bagheera's face is so expressive.
So expressive.
It's so, you just want to hug your TV and kiss him, and it gave me the warm fuzzies just to see him.
And also,
P.S. I've never watched this movie, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's so good. Did you watch it with Casey?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
He's
I feel
far
like
too
Casey
busy
would
and
really
important.
like it.
Oh, he would. And actually, he said, I barely remember that one. So he had seen it at some point in his life. I've seen all the songs from it and the famous moments from it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever watched it start to finish. So
Oh, I'm so glad that you did. Yeah. And to have that look of the character, but with that kind of upper crust British voice is so not what you would think for a panther, and I just love that.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect casting.
Yes. And he's so over it, and everything is a bother to him, and but yet he's so lovable. And then we meet Mowgli. We've heard about him. We heard his little background, and then we meet him. Is he supposed to be 8 years old, 7 years old when we flash forward from his babydom?
I think about that.
How the hell is he wearing underwear, and why? That is one of those things that's like, I get it. They wanted to make a movie for families to go see, and they couldn't show nudity, but it's so strange.
Well,
that he's been raised...
Tarzan has a loincloth.
Right. Again, because of standards and practices, not because that's how a person living in that world would be.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, which one of the wolves who was raising Mowgli would say, "We really need underoos"?
And then on the opposite side, Winnie the Pooh only has a shirt and no pants. So who knows?
Yeah. There's definitely some backward logic. I mean, I'm not going to pull it apart because I know it's an animated movie for kids. It's based on Rudyard Kipling stories. But it's like, all the animals are speaking English, which is, makes me raise an eyebrow. How do they all know English? And then how did he get the name Mowgli? And, but I'm going to just suspend my disbelief.
Yes,
I understand.
suspend your disbelief.
It's an animated movie. And then I looked up the voices because I immediately recognized Sterling Holloway when I heard Ka. But Mowgli is voiced by the director's son.
Yeah, and who also voices Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin.
Winnie the Pooh. Yeah.
But the director also directs that. Right? So that put a stink on it for me because I'm not a big fan of nepotism. And I was like, well, if he had to audition against 100 other little kids, would he have gotten this part? And I don't, in my humble opinion, Justine, and I hope this is not sacrilegious, no, I don't think he would have. I think he's a little flat. I don't think he's that great. And then in walks the little elephant with the cutest voice you ever did hear, Clint Howard.
Ron Howard's brother.
As a child.
Who I just did a comm with last year, Clint Howard. Yeah, so sweet. So cute.
So. And I'm thinking, now he should have been Mowgli.
He was so cute as that little elephant.
So cute.
I just want to hug that elephant. I just love all the elephants. And the mother elephant, this famous character actress, I forget her name in real life. She's so perfect as this, like, oh God, an elephant never forgets. You forgot, you forgot your son. So cute.
What is her name? Verna Felton.
Yes.
Oh, what a great name.
It's
Let's
such a
just
great name.
stop down on that. Woof.
Such great character actors in this film.
Absolutely. And that's why I thought it would be fun to fire them all and recast it with modern actors when we get there.
Yeah. I have my list.
But yeah, I Clint Howard was so cute, and it made me think
So cute.
he was a really good little kid actor. I couldn't believe his IMDb. 214
It's unbelievable.
credits or something. I mean, he's so if I had a vote in 1966 when they were making this movie, I would have said, "Don't give your son the part. Give it to Clint Howard. He's better."
I never thought of that, but I can see that now.
Oh, see, I've nerdified you. And then we talked about Ka,
So
the
fun.
snake, Sterling Holloway. Most
That
famous
song
for
"Trust
Winnie
in
the
Me"
Pooh.
is such a great song, and I've seen it done by some jazz singers that
Me
are
too.
female.
Holly Cole.
Holly Cole. Oh my
Ooh,
gosh, we
yeah.
saw her right before the pandemic at the Montreal Jazz Fest.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, she's just incredible. I love her doing it, and yeah, it's such a great song. It's really like such a classic now.
Seductive
Oh
and
yeah.
interesting, and yeah, I loved it. Although it is jarring to hear Winnie the Pooh be evil. But this isn't where his song appears. I was thinking about it. But then we meet the elephants. They're doing a little parade. I thought this could have, so when they asked me for my remake of it, I would start the movie with the elephant parade. So there's like a song to get us all
cute.
in the mood, and we're with the animals, great. And I would include other animals, and
I like
that's
that
what
idea.
I would do. And the Colonel Elephant sounds a little like John Goodman.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah.
And then later I wrote, wow, Baloo sounds like John Goodman too. Wait, they all do. Then I looked up, then I asked you if you had ever seen the live action. So I looked up Jungle Book, saw that there's a Jungle Book 2. Did you ever see it?
I didn't see Jungle Book 2. No. Is John
Guess
Goodman?
who? Yes.
Oh,
He
that's
plays
so
Baloo
funny.
in Jungle Book 2.
That's so funny.
I've
That's
got
so
a gift.
cute. Aw, I love that. Yeah, I could totally hear him being Baloo.
Yeah. I mean, Baloo, I wrote, without Baloo, there's no Joey Tribbiani.
Yes.
Just one of these characters that melts your heart and only wants to do good and right by the people he loves or the creatures he loves. He's just an irresistible character.
He's so sweet to Mowgli. Like you don't think of a huge bear like that being safe for a child, which normally it wouldn't.
Right.
But gosh, just him and Bagheera love Mowgli so much. It's such an unlikely pairing, and they're so dangerous in real life. But in this movie, they just love him like two gay dads. I just love it.
Oh, what a nice twist that goes in the remake. Make a note. Well, while we're on Baloo, he sings Bare Necessities, which is obviously
One of the
such
best.
a fantastic song. But I have the nerdiest observation, and I hope you have had it too. What does he say when the song finishes?
Oh,
Mowgli's laying on him and they're floating.
I forget.
That's real jungle harmony. There's no harmony. It's unison, Baloo.
That's true.
Is that the nerdiest observation ever? I was like,
but
Disney doesn't know what harmony is.
But not I figure he's not saying harmony in the sense of music harmony. He's saying like harmony in general, like harmony in the world.
Oh, don't you justify it. I thought of that too, but it's like, no, they were just singing together. And he's like, that's real jungle harmony. And I just thought, it's not. So this is where I noticed, before Bare Necessities, I noticed the scoring and how much it makes a difference. And it evokes perfect emotion for every moment of the movie. You know
Yes.
when something's lighthearted, you know when something's a little scary, you know when something is emotional, creepy, hopeful. And it reminds me a touch of Peter and the Wolf, which was a childhood
Love
favorite of
Peter and the
mine.
Wolf. Oh yeah.
But it's incredible what good scoring does. And
Yes.
I don't notice it like when I went to see the live action Little Mermaid. It's not as clear and well placed and well used anymore. I feel like that went out with all the CGI and tech and swelling orchestras all the time, or I miss the good old fashioned two instruments showing us a character creeping across the floor,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I
Oh,
love it. It's
it's
it's it's
perfect.
perfect musically, this film. I just love it.
Except no opening number.
Except no opening number. And
So
no real closing number either.
true.
And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. I said, hey, Justine, do you want to also talk about the live action version? It's Jon Favreau who directed it in 2016. Maybe I could watch that too. And what did you say, Justine?
I said I refuse to watch it because I'm such a original purist, and I'm just not into these live action CGI. I don't know why they even call it live action. They're remakes, they're CGI remakes. I don't get it. Not into it. Glad it's other people's cup of tea, but I'm just these CGI remakes. It's like I get Little Mermaid because there's only, a certain number of animals, but it's mostly humans. Great. I haven't seen the remake, but I hear it's great. But these live action, like these oh, it's not. These live action
Don't
these
tell the
live
people what my
action
face is saying.
these live action like Lion King, not it. Don't want to watch it. Give me the original. Think of a new story. These like Lion King. It was cute though. Lady and the Tramp. I watched it with my friend's kids. The
Oh,
new
there was
live
like a
action
real
remake.
dog version?
No, it was like CGI again.
Oh,
But
I've never seen.
but it was actually pretty cute. Um, but yeah, I'm just not into these ones that don't have any people except for one person, maybe one human, and then the rest is just CGI. It's like just go with the original movie and think
Right.
of something new.
Oh, I have finally gotten to see you pissed off. It's a shade of Justine Huxley I've never really seen. It's nice.
I just think it looks so fake. And if you want something fake, just go with 2D animation. It's so much cuter.
Look, I agree with you. I mean, part of me wants to see remakes just to hate on them, just to prove the point that, you had something good. Why did you
Yeah.
remake it?
Yes.
Although in the case of something like West Side Story, I would
Oh, I
argue
loved that. But
it was
there are no animals in West Side
no,
Story.
I know. I'm just talking remakes in general. Simmer down, Justine. I, I am fed up with all the remakes. I would always rather watch an original story that I haven't
Yeah.
seen. I'm, people who know me know I'm over adaptation and remake and, revamping and rebooting. I hate it all. But every once in a while, like with a West Side Story, it's like, oh,
I'll
well,
tell
that
you
was incredible.
I'll tell you two really good remakes besides West Side Story. 12 Angry Men, the remake of that with I believe Jack Lemmon plays the Henry Fonda character. Incredible.
When was that?
That
Was that a
in
TV production?
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay.
So
George C.
good.
Scott and Jack Lemmon. All right.
Yeah. Incredible.
Oh, and Hume Cronin.
Yeah, Hume Cronin. Yes, Hume Cronin's in it, and it's so good. And I love the original too. I mean, the original VJ Cobb, Henry Fonda, great actors. But that one was in black and white. This one's in color, and this one, is a little different, but pretty much the same script. And then another one that we just saw was I think it was Showtime did a TV version of Kane Mutiny.
Oh, okay.
That was great. Loved it so much. And the original was Humphrey Bogart. And then Kiefer Sutherland played, and he was fantastic.
Okay.
So good. So anyway, some remakes are pretty good, but I would say most are
But
not.
not Disney 2D musicals. Leave them alone.
Leave them alone.
Keep your
Yes.
greasy Hollywood paws off of them.
Yes.
Okay, so you have never seen any of the other adaptations. You didn't even.
I've seen the one in the 90s, not into it.
Okay. Oh, you did see that one. I forgot
not
about
into
that
it. That's yeah.
one. No, that's okay. So back to our movie Jungle Book.
Yes, please.
They go to find, is it when they're going to find Shere Khan, and it's scary and intense, and Baloo can't stop dancing. He's like all fired up and scared, but he can't stop dancing. And I feel like I have that side of me.
I love when he does like the back scratches. Oh, it's the cutest thing ever.
Well, the back scratches, my papa did that.
Oh,
When my papa was older, he would go up against a door frame, and he did it all the time until I would scratch his back. And it was I was just like, Papa was like my Baloo.
And I've seen I've seen videos of actual, real bears do that. They really do like scratch their backs on trees, and it's just the cutest thing. I love it. They really did take a lot of mannerisms from actual animals. It's not just, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I tried to ask my best friend Megan if her little girls have seen it and what they thought. And she said they hadn't seen this one. But I worry that it's too calm and sweet and gentle for kids today.
Really?
I wonder, and I think it's also what you start with. Like when Casey was 2 or 3 and we started introducing screens, we started with PBS Clifford with John Ritter.
Yeah.
And Curious George. And so those were very gentle and sweet. So then I think when he was about 3.5, we showed him Toy Story, and he loved it, but it was like, what's happening? It was a lot of realistic, fast-paced things flying at him. He was used to the more gentle, sweet things. But I think kids today, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't know, I don't know, they start with such high energy things. Kids are served up Paw Patrol and things that are full of color and energy and races and action. So then I wonder if you've been raised on Paw Patrol when you're 5 and your parents sit you down to watch Jungle Book. I'm just curious if you're bored.
I wonder. I don't know. I feel like you would know more than I do because you have a kid.
I don't know. It's like with anything, you take baby steps. You start with something small, and then you get to the bigger, faster, better. And I hope people start with Jungle Book, and
so sweet. Yeah.
Then your kid can sit and watch a real story with real stakes and no special effects I know it's animated, but
there is a huge thing at stake. Like Mowgli doesn't want to die. And they don't want the jungle to go on fire,
Right. But it's told in a gentle way.
In a gentle way. Yeah, it's really not that scary. I remember as a kid being a little scared when the scariest part, I think, of the film is not even Kaa trying to eat Mowgli because it's just so silly. And the voice is so perfect that you're not that worried about Kaa. He's such a ridiculous character. But when Baloo is knocked over and you think he's dead and Mowgli's crying, it's like, oh my God, like the greatest character almost died. And the really scary part is when Shere Khan has the fire. That's very frightening to me. I remember having to fast forward it for my little sister sometimes when we would watch it because that was really scary.
Well,
when
I
she was
would
really
compare
little.
that to Zootopia, which came out when Casey was probably 3 or 4. And I had to remove him from the theater. When those animals go savage, it is really, really scary.
Was he really scared?
Oh my God.
Oh.
There's such a difference. Even the ice monster in Frozen, he couldn't handle it. That was a big block his ears, take him out of the theater.
Interesting.
Always fast forward. And then, finally, I remember the moment when I showed it to him. I showed him what the ice monster does at the end of the movie, where he puts on the tiara and he's cute and soft. And then Casey could watch the beginning, but he couldn't handle the ice monster.
Interesting.
I'm sure Casey would love me revealing these things.
I wanted to say that in my research that I was doing last night, the
Yeah.
actor that plays Shere Khan, I did not know this, married 2 Gabor sisters, Jaja Gabor and I think Margot Gabor. I forget her name.
There's a Marge Gabor. That can't be right.
He's Margaret Gabor. Anyway, but I think he was married something like 5 times or something like that.
Billy.
Yeah. Is that his name?
Billy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, but then got an annulment from the sister, like after, I don't know, a month, 2 months. It was.
Whoa.
No, George Sanders. George Sanders is the one that played Shere Khan. Magda Gabor. There we go. Magda Gabor.
That makes more sense.
Yes. Magda Gabor. Yes. He was married 4 times.
Oh, Shere Khan's singing voice is Bill Lee.
Yes. I'm talking about the actual speaking voice.
George Sanders is the speaking voice.
George
Gotcha,
Sanders.
Gotcha.
Who won the Academy Award, I believe, for All About Eve, which is another one of my favorite films. Have you seen that one?
Yes. Yes, I have.
So great. Yeah.
And then they made a musical called Applause.
Oh, I didn't realize that was based on. Cool. I've never seen Applause, but that's awesome.
Oh. Well, thank you for the extra fun fact. I did not know
Yeah.
that. I'm so proud of my Clint Howard knowledge and the nepotism. That's as far as I got.
I just can't imagine marrying a sibling of someone that I've already married. Maybe dating somebody if it didn't go maybe a couple dates, and that's still awkward, but
sounds like something Kardashians would do.
Yes.
I just want to say I have no proof it's happened, but
one more trivia that I have to tell you.
Yeah.
That you probably already know when you were doing your research, but maybe our listeners don't. Your listeners don't. I had known for a while that the Vultures, who sing the cutest song, That's What Friends Are For, and an ongoing joke in my family, we imitate the Vultures when we when I was a kid, we were like, so what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Don't start that again. It's my favorite thing. I love saying. But they were supposed to be played by the Beatles. You can hear yes, they were supposed to be played by the Beatles, and Walt Disney really wanted the Beatles to do it, and you can hear the British, 1960s sound. And he really wanted the Beatles to do it, and John Lennon said, absolutely not. I'm not interested in doing anything animated. And so he got the next best thing, which was like a duo. And they added a couple people, a duo. I don't even know who they are, but apparently at the time they were,
Chad Stewart and Lord Tim Hudson.
There you go. But I didn't know who they were, but they, tried to make them sound like Liverpudlian and Beatle-like. And it totally worked. It was so cute.
It's so fun. Yeah. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
So thank you. You are
You're
full
welcome.
of fun facts. Okay. So we have recast the movie, both of us. So we're going to reveal our new cast for a movie we're never going to remake. We're never going to remake it, Justine, I promise. But
okay, good.
But first, I want to tell everyone that Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. The theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. And if you want to get me on social media, it's at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's, on Instagram. And I just joined Blue Sky. Miscast Mandy. Or Mandy Miscast. Oh crap. I don't remember. It's one or the other. I'm going to try and find it. So yes, let me see. It's Mandy Miscast. So that's going to have stuff for my show and my podcast and everything. I'm trying to get away from Facebook or Meta or whatever we want to call it. But I'm not getting away from Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please, please give it 5 stars, write a review. It helps it grow. And if you really want to support the podcast, I would be so grateful if you would go to makemeanerd.com, hit the join button. You get your episodes ad-free and early, and bonus content like little extra interviews I'm doing for members only. Okay, now let's reveal our cast for the new version of Jungle Book that we're never going to make.
Okay.
Who is your Bagheera?
My Bagheera is
I know.
Patrick Stewart. I feel like he would be so good as Bagheera. He has such heart. He loves animals so much. He adopts pit bulls. He is so wonderful at storytelling. He did I believe he did a one-man Christmas Carol, which I've never seen, but I hear is incredible. And he plays so many different parts. And I just feel like he would be so good at it. But also, that was a hard one for me. I also hear Morgan Freeman. I can hear Morgan Freeman because he's so kind, so gentle. They're both just such wonderful actors, and they both have such distinct voices and beautiful sounding voices. You just want to listen to them all day. Right. And I feel like that's Bagheera. You want to listen to the voice of Bagheera in the 1960s animated film.
Which exactly represents who I cast. I went a very different way, but the kind of voice you want to melt into. Viola Davis.
Oh, love it. Yes.
Right? So
who I just saw at my favorite ramen restaurant.
Oh.
Which, yes, it was so
I
exciting.
wish you would have known and you could have pitched her the idea.
I would have told her that she needs to do.
So but obviously we're making different movies. We're making competing projects. So because I like both of your choices as well. Although Patrick's, I worry about Morgan Freeman a bit for other reasons that we won't go into. So let's cast Patrick Stewart. I just made a decision, and Viola Davis in my movie. Okay. And then Mowgli's hard because Mowgli's a kid. I don't know if you had a kid actor in mind.
I didn't have a kid actor in mind. That was one that I wasn't sure of. Who are you thinking?
My son. No, I'm just kidding. Because I said it. I don't believe in nepotism. No. So I came up with Michael Cera. Because he sounds so young and innocent still. And so even though I know he's not a kid and they would never really do that these days, that was the closest, like back when he was George Michael on Arrested Development.
Yeah, that's so cute. I also feel like Jacob Tremblay can do no wrong, and I just love him so much. And he would be adorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But now he's older, so I don't think he could.
Right. I mean, they're not kids anymore, but But look, this is a pretend thing. So we're putting pretend people at pretend ages, and
Oh, and the kid that does young Sheldon when he was little,
Ian Armitage.
Such a great actor.
Yes, love him.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we have to make 3 movies. Oh,
yes.
It's gonna get expensive, but we'll do it. It's fine. Okay, I'm so excited about my car. Oh my god. Okay,
me too. Go first. You go first.
I just watched Emilia Perez.
Oh, how was it? I have not seen it yet.
It's beautiful, and it's intense, and it's worth seeing. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I really liked it and admired it. So Carla Sofia Gascon, who plays Emilia Perez, is my ka.
Interesting.
Now, when you see, I mean, her voice is still has a masculine tone. She's transgender. There, it's got all that richness, and in the movie, I don't want to spoil anything, but you can see that she could play evil and dark, and you could see she could play loving and lighthearted, and so I'm very excited about that. Okay.
Interesting that you say her, because I have a competing actress who is up for the same, best actress this whole award season.
Oh,
Cynthia Erivo as Ka.
Wow.
I just feel like her voice is magic, a voice that I would want to listen to forever.
Yes.
And again, it's so funny. Just saw her at the same ramen restaurant. I'm telling you, this ramen restaurant is only
ramen.
Studio City. This restaurant, I feel like I've only been there twice, but I feel like it only should serve Tony Award winning actresses. The best actresses are Viola Davis and Cynthia Erivo.
Yes.
Hey.
I love
Anyway.
the idea of Cynthia Erivo as Ka. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
I would love hearing her sing Trust in Me. I think she would be just perfect. There was a podcast, like it was a scripted podcast, like a story that John Cameron Mitchell, you know, from Hedwig.
Mhm.
He did this podcast and she was in it. She played his best friend, and there was music in it too. And it was so beautiful just to listen to her. I love seeing her on screen too, but it was nice just like driving or walking or whatever and just listening to her.
She's
She was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful voice.
Perfect. Yeah.
So far, we're doing great. Okay.
We're doing great.
Baloo.
Baloo, I feel like Will Ferrell would be so cute as Baloo.
He
Just
would.
love him so much. I feel like he like could dress up as Baloo even and look like him. Or Jack Black, but like a less energetic Jack Black.
Toned down. A decaffeinated.
Yeah, toned down Jack Black. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he would be great. And I don't see him do much that's toned down. And I feel like he's such a great actor and such a great comedian. I feel like he would, and such a great singer too. I feel like he would be so wonderful at that role.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I went a really different direction.
Oh, please.
I don't know if this person can sing, but I think his work in animated features is magical in Secret Life of Pets and other things. Kevin Hart as Baloo.
Oh, okay. Cute.
I just think he's so wonderful and specific and funny, and I don't know. He presents that energy of like that moment I told you I loved, where it's supposed to be scary and intimidating, but he's dancing and he can't stop himself. Like that's that Kevin Hart energy to me. So that's who I went with there.
That's cute.
Okay, King Louis. I had some issues with. I went two wildly different directions because I couldn't decide. So, do you know Teddy Swims?
No.
So he's a pop artist, and I thought you might not know him. Casey and I love him. He's very of today.
Cool.
And he's got a really gravelly, soulful voice.
Nice.
So that was my first thought, Teddy Swims. But I don't know if he's an actor. I don't know if he's charming and funny, and I just know he's got that great soulful voice. So then I went a totally different direction, and I thought Titus Burgess would be amazing as Louis.
Oh, he'd be so great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I feel like Titus Burgess would actually be a really great Baloo as well.
I feel like Titus Burgess could be several of these parts, and I'd be
okay
with it. Yeah.
I love him. He's so great. Have you seen him do, and I'm telling you, I'm not going, in miscast? Oh my gosh. That's probably my favorite miscast. That and Lilius White doing Don't Rain on My Parade. Oh,
that I haven't seen.
So good. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Highly recommend. My King Louis, I was thinking about actors that are funny, charming, can also sing, and that can sing jazz music. And I was thinking Jeff Goldblum would be so great because he plays jazz like professionally. He plays piano and sings jazz. So I just thought he'd be so much fun. And he's so goofy too. I feel like he would love it.
Sure. Who's your Colonel Hattie?
Colonel Hattie?
Sorry.
Gosh, that was a hard one for me. You go first, and I will.
Well,
think.
John Goodman.
John Goodman is so good.
I was watching the movie and I thought, God, that character sounds like John Goodman. So now congratulations, John Goodman. You got cast.
I'm going to say John Goodman as well. I
in
really
a smaller role than you did in the sequel.
I like that.
Okay, Shere Khan.
Shere Khan, I have two. Okay, if Alan Rickman were still alive, I would cast him in a heartbeat. I think Alan Rickman has one of the most incredible voices, accents, one of the greatest actors, but also has so much heart. He's one of the greatest villains. He plays villains so well.
Yes, Hans Gruber.
He does comedy so well. He does tragedy, sadness, everything. I just feel like he would be perfect. And my other option is Tim Curry. who I think would be
they're both
just
great.
perfect.
Yes.
I think Tim Curry is unbelievable, but also hearing him in Fern Gully. Have you seen the movie Fern Gully? Oh, it's so cute. You've got to see Fern Gully. He's so wonderful as the villain in that as well.
Oh, those are both great options. I went, like, I had no qualms because I just watched The Penguin, which if you haven't watched it,
I've got to watch that.
highly, highly, highly recommend. And the actor Mark Strong was in it, who every time he goes on screen, I get chills. Like, if I saw him in the ramen place, I would run out of the ramen place. He's so evil on screen and all the time. And the minute I heard Shere Khan's voice, I thought, ooh, Mark Strong. So
Oh, I love that idea.
that's my choice.
He was great in that. You know what? Okay, live action, I have to say, Cruella. That
I didn't
film
see that.
was so good. Mark Strong is in that as well.
Okay.
And Emma Thompson and Emma Stone, the two Emmas, are so perfect in that film. And to me, that's not, it doesn't bother me because they have real dogs in it and the dogs don't talk because it's a prequel. So it's all about like Cruella's origin story.
Right. And it's not
so-
it's not just a remake, it's its own story.
Highly recommend Cruella for anyone that hasn't seen it. The fashion in it, the costumes, I think it won the Academy Award for costumes. I mean, my jaw is just on the floor. The way they use costumes in that film, incredible.
Well, lastly, for the vultures, I came up with my idea, but I'm curious who you thought for the vultures.
You go first.
Well, okay, I went through several things. First, the first thing I thought was Lonely Island.
Oh, that's so fun.
Or
I love
Please
that
Don't
idea.
Destroy. Who's like the new Lonely Island. I don't know if you're familiar with Please Don't Destroy.
No, I don't know that.
They're the new ones on Saturday Night Live. They're hilarious. But then the wanting to miscast and gender blind cast bug really got to me. And I thought of how many times we've seen Kristen Wiig, Tina Fey, Maya Rudolph, and Amy Poehler sing.
Oh, that's so fun.
And so I want them all to be the vultures because I know they could pull off the vocals. And the idea of the four of them riffing off of each other would be incredible. So that's who I went with.
That's so fun.
What about you?
So I was thinking, like, get some of the knights, like some of the British knights, like Sir Ian McKellen, Sir Derek Jacobi, Sir Patrick, those, because they're such good friends in real life and they're all British and so funny. That would be so much fun to hear them.
I love
together.
that.
Yeah.
I did not think of that.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome, everyone, for the recast in these movies. Just check your local theaters. Pretty soon, I would think. It's going to happen pretty soon. Well, Justine, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at Justine Huxley on Instagram, X, TikTok until it gets banned, and Blue Sky and Threads.
Great.
I forget if there's anything else. There's probably going to be 5 more social media apps by the time this comes out. But yeah, it's just Justine Huxley on all of them.
All right. Well, I'm not sure exactly what order these things are coming up in for me, but coming up on Make Me a Nerd, I'm going to try Outlander.
Ooh.
Yep.
Very steamy. Very steamy. Don't watch it when Casey's in the room. It might be embarrassing.
Okay. And I also think The Wheel of Time is coming up.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Show. All right.
Okay.
So with some fantastic female guests, I'm very excited. I'm in a female phase of Make Me a Nerd. It's all good. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks Justine.
Mandy. Thank
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.